Hi everybody, welcome or welcome back. Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are. My name is Nanna and I am back here at TCS to talk a little bit about June and a particular thing about June that I mentioned, the mental energy and how big it's gonna be. I can feel it. Can you feel it? I'm sure it's different for everybody. For me personally, a lot of mental energy going on. I don't even know where I am sometimes. So a little confusing, but also kind of fun. So I'm back here with my guides to talk a little bit about mental energy, but most of all about our beliefs. Now I'm sure those of you that have been on this journey or read a lot about personal development, self-development, spiritual awakening, I'm sure you have read or learned so much about beliefs and how important beliefs really are. And we cannot really emphasize enough that they are super important, because the beliefs we have, the beliefs we hold, they shape our whole world. They shape our subjective reality. They literally make up the structure of our reality, meaning that if we have really deep beliefs about ourselves, negative beliefs about ourselves, which a lot of us do, that will show up in our reality to confirm our bias, so to say. So what we really wanted to talk about today is the importance of recognizing confirmation bias when working with yourself. Because our egos are a little tricky. They really like to hold on to what is familiar and what is known. And it doesn't always want to let us question things or go too deep into things, because the ego thinks that if we stop believing some things or if we stop doing some things, we will cease to exist, or the ego will cease to exist. But that's another video. But to take an example, let's say that you hold beliefs about a relationship. The most common one, we meet somebody, maybe it doesn't go very well, but we have this immense attraction to them, and we feel like this must be a star-crossed lover, and why, oh why is this person so mean to me, but I love them so much. I'm sure many of us have been through that feeling or that experience, maybe multiple times. And so what do? We get really caught up in that feeling. We ignore every other behavior that isn't really feeling good, that isn't positive in any way. Maybe we're being oppressed, maybe we're being abused, maybe we're not compatible. It doesn't have to go so bad for us to be abused and oppressed to leave a relationship or to realize that this isn't for us. Absolutely not. I really hope that we heal enough so we can recognize it before. So we're in this relationship, we have these big feelings, and we're gonna find proof that this person could be the one based on us feeling that. So whenever we, let's say we Google soulmates, karmic lovers, we're gonna ignore everything that kind of says that maybe this is more of a toxic relationship, or maybe this relationship is just there to teach, or just there to teach you more about yourself, more about your own insecurities, to bring them to the surface. Maybe this person is someone that reminds you of a caregiver, someone when you were a child. So to resolve that, we're going to ignore all that, and we're going to go straight to, this must be a twin flame, or this must be a soulmate, and we must be meant to be together, so that's probably why we feel the strong feelings. And I'm sure we can all hear how dangerous this can be. And that's a bit of a problem for our for the universe, for our guides, for our spirit teams, whatever you want to call it, because our beliefs dictate our reality. And when they want to come in and give us a message that contradicts that, it doesn't leave a lot of room for it. So that's why many of us ignore signs for so long. Some people go their whole lives ignoring signs because they just don't want to see it on some level. So I think it's a great time in June, when the mental energy is so high, to practice that kind of dissociation when it comes to our beliefs and thoughts. Now, when I say it, it sounds like, well, easy breezy, lemon squeezy. I mean, anybody can do that. But that's actually, it can be quite hard because we're human. We are very identified with our thoughts. We're super identified with our beliefs, to the extent that we sometimes don't even know what they are because we are living in them. We're not looking at them. So I think it's a good time for us, not just in June, whenever, to, in any way we can, try to be mindful and just take a step back and try, to the best of our ability, to look at any situation that we're in from a distance. Watch it like we're watching it happen, like we're watching ourselves. And that little action, changes the vibration of us. It puts us in a curious place, and it puts us in an open space. So remember that I said that June is going to be, it's going to kind of force us to be very open-minded. That is one example, and a great way to work with it, is what I get. So when we get that curious and we can take a step back from things, that also allows the universe to show us the, for lack of a better word, reality of the situation. And it gives the universe the opportunity to help guide us to another type of reality, they help us look at the beliefs and kind of break them down, question them. Where did this belief come from? So maybe let's take the example again. We're in a relationship where we're not being treated very nicely. We have somehow convinced ourselves that these strong feelings must mean that this is a soulmate or a twin flame or whatever you want to call it. And we are going to stay because, my God, it's my soulmate. I got to stay with my soulmate. Again, that's also a misconception. Not all soulmates, actually very little soulmates, are meant to stay in your life forever. Some are, and that's beautiful, but many of them are not. So I think it's also dangerous when we confuse these concepts of soulmate and all that, and again, tie a belief to it. Soulmate means happily ever after. No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, I wish it was, but it doesn't. So we take that, to mean that we're meant to be together. But if we take a step back and we look at the belief that kind of holds this all together, now the belief is one aspect of this situation, but we're talking about that, so let's just go with it. So the belief might be that I'm not worthy of being treated right, or I'm only the only way I know love is when someone mistreats me, or I don't deserve being happy, or something like that, something that's kind of heartbreaking about ourselves. And then we can trace that back to, where did this come from? Did a parent maybe instill this on us? Did society do it? Did something happen? Or we can kind of trace it back to the beginning to help dissolve it. But again, if we're super caught into the whole situation, it's a lot harder. And the universe can't really get through, so to say. So we take a step back, and really that step taking back is that kind of space being created for us to be open to some kind of change. So how do we do that? We can do that by simply meditating. Again, it sounds like, oh, just meditate. Everybody does it. It's not always that easy. I recognize that. Especially a month like June, where there's so much mental energy and someone tells you to meditate and your mind is even louder than it ever been. But it doesn't have to be that. It can, again, be through the writing. It could be just the intention to take a step back. We can say to the universe or to our guides, like, I'm ready to know more about this situation, but I don't know how. I'm scared that it's gonna hurt. I'm scared that I'm gonna be heartbroken. I'm scared that I'm gonna end up alone and my whole world is gonna crash. But at least with that honesty, again, we create some wiggle room. We're not resisting, we're simply just accepting that the situation is the way it is. And they really harp on this belief. And the thing is that a belief is not created by one single thought. It's events that keep repeating themselves that makes us go from, oh, this is just a thought that I'm thinking, to something that I actually believe about myself or about the world. And when we, I'm sorry, again, when I do this, I'm just listening, so I'm trying to kind of phrase it in the best way. When we hold beliefs about ourselves, thank you. It's the beliefs about ourselves that dictates how other people see us many times. If we have beliefs about ourselves that we are worthy and we are confident and we're safe in our own skin, then that is the energy we exude. That's the energy we emit. I think that's the right word, emit. And that is kind of the vibration, that is the way that people see us. And this doesn't have to even be a spiritual thing. We all know those people that are safe in their own skin, they're confident, and what happens is that we like to be around them. Unless we're triggered by them. That's another thing. But if we're not triggered by them, we like to be around them. They feel like safe people. They're people that hold beliefs about themselves that are in alignment with who they are. Now, on the other side, if someone has a lot of self-hate, a lot of beliefs about themselves that they're all bad, a lot of core shame, then usually that person will not feel safe to be around, because someone that we don't feel safe to us is not safe to themselves either. So working with the beliefs and the confirmation bias is a way to ensure that we are a safe person to ourselves and to others. And why would we want to go through life believing bad things about ourselves? Anyway, I want to say one thing though that they're really reminding me of. I think we should be very careful about making bad things the enemy. Like, oh, it's my negative beliefs' fault that I've, had low self-esteem my whole life. Or, oh, if I just didn't have these negative thoughts, I hate my negative thoughts, life would be great. I understand that absolute anger and helplessness when it comes to those things, but the more we do that, the more against ourselves we kind of are. There is not a part of ourselves, even the bad beliefs or bad thoughts, that are some kind of internal enemy. Even if it does feel that way, it does feel that way, but it's a way to stay safe. I've learned something in this trauma course I did, or that I'm doing, that's super interesting, is that trauma is a rapid learning. Any kind of phobia or trauma is a rapid learning. It's us going through something, experiencing immense amount of pain, and then we learn that that thing is not good. Now, that might have helped us there, but later in life, again, when it comes to maybe ourselves or relationships, it might hinder us. So I'm very, very much for compassionate self-awareness. That doesn't mean just letting ourselves off the hook. I think a lot of people confuse that, but it means that just simply acknowledging that things are the way they are, that we have these beliefs, that the beliefs and the thoughts that we have thought that have caused us so much suffering was a way to stay safe, was a way to avoid further pain, was a way to not get disappointed. I know a lot of people that are perpetually negative. I'm sure a lot of us do. And the thing is that we might we might look at them, if we're a fairly positive person or optimistic, we might look at them and we might think, what does it even serve them to be so negative? Why can't they just try to be a little positive, even if they just fake it? Well, many times those kinds of people have been through so much disappointment in life that their mind would rather keep them in this perceived disappointment or not getting hopes up, because they would rather be realistic about a situation than getting hopes up, being positive, and then being disappointed again. So it's almost like it's like a protective mechanism. It's like you try to avoid a negative outcome by kind of accepting or assuming that that negative outcome is going to happen. And again, if we're in this attraction, spiritual awareness journey, world, community, whatever you want to call it, we know how not serving that is. But it's not for someone to be negative just to be negative, to be a negative Nancy or whatever you call it. It's just to stay safe. I'm sure we can all recognize those things. You know, where we meet somebody and we maybe we have a crush on them, or we like them, or we like to date them, but we convince ourselves that, oh, they don't like us. Why would they like me? You know, what do I have to offer? Blah, blah, blah. It's a way for us to not get disappointed. Probably because we have been so many times growing up. So if you know somebody that's really, really negative, try to see it like that. That it's not for them to just be negative for the fun of it, or because they're wired so differently, or because you're so positive and they just can't do it. It's a protective mechanism from further disappointment. So, Mari-Lyn and Pam mentioned that about trauma and how much that kind of impacts our personality. And that is so, so true. It's such a big part of who we present ourselves to be. It's such a big part of our behavior. Everything that we went through in life is going to show itself in our personality. Are we positive? Are we negative? Are we ambitious? Are we not ambitious? Are we risk takers? Are we very cautious? Now, there's no way to get away from that, but there is a way to, well, question everything. So, at the end of the day, what we want to say is, try not to be fooled by your own beliefs. Try not to get caught in this confirmation bias trap, especially when we keep getting ourselves into situations that are clearly not good for us. And you can argue that, anything that happens is a chance for us to remember more of who we are, to heal some kind of aspect of ourselves. It serves us with expansion in some way. But just like the old saying is, pain is avoidable, suffering is not, or whatever they say. I don't think that's the exact saying, but I hope you understand. We can't avoid pain in this life. But when it keeps going on, and we have some kind of control of it, then that is just suffering, and that is avoidable many times. I say many times because, again, the world looks the way it looks, and it can seem really unfair to say that. But when it comes to a lot of situations, maybe with relationships, friendships, our own beliefs, we do have the choice to not suffer. But we have to start by taking a step back and viewing that kind of mental space that holds all that information from an unbiased way, because that's the only time we can actually do something with it. So I really, really urge you to get more curious about yourself. If you find yourself in a situation that is not optimal for you, please sit down, talk to your guides. Even if you don't feel like you can hear your guides, take a few deep breaths, write it down, try to actually look at the situation from so many angles, and then try to find that common denominator. A great way is to ask yourself questions. This is like a I don't know, like a coaching technique or therapeutic technique, just to find the beliefs. Ask yourself the question, how does that serve me? Because on some level, whatever we do and whatever we believe, whatever we find ourselves in, it does serve us in some way. So let's say that we are in this relationship, we're not treated nicely, and we're like, okay, I'm staying in a toxic relationship. That's the statement. So then we can start with, how does that serve me? And that's where we, again, need to be careful that our ego doesn't take over and make up all these kinds of beautiful things that justify it. It's important to be brave enough to kind of let it hit us. It comes from this deep place within and will just feel right. So maybe it can be, okay, how does it serve me? I get to have company. Maybe that's the first step. Okay, I'm in this toxic relationship. How does it serve me? Well, at least I have company. Okay, and how does that serve me? Well, I'm not alone. And how does it serve me to not be alone? Well, I'm safer. If I'm with somebody, even if they treat me well or not, I might be treated worse somewhere else. Or something like that. And from there, we can kind of just keep scaling it down until we find this one belief that is the root of all of these others, where it might be, I am not worthy of being treated kindly. Maybe, just an example. And then we can kind of work with that. Very mental, very brave work, but it's a great time to do that. And it's so important if you want to live a life of self-acceptance, so important if you want to live a life of self-awareness, and all those lovely things. I've been babbling again for way too long. I hope this made sense. I hope it can help you. I'm definitely going to work more with this myself. And yeah, let's keep on keeping on through June, and let's see what July has to offer. I guess I'll be back at the beginning to give some kind of energetic update. But please let me know in the comments how June has been for you so far. Have you felt any of this big mental energy? Have you felt confused like I have? And what kind of beliefs do you have? Do you know any beliefs that you hold that are not so great? And what kind of beliefs do you hold that actually are supporting you? That are positive? What kind of beliefs do you hold that are great about yourself? They're not just negative, obviously. Let me know, and I hope to see you next time. Have a lovely day. Bye!